16 years ago, if you lived in Japan and wanted a small but feature-rich laptop, you could have gone for the Fujitsu P1630, although it was incredibly expensive. So, let's take a look at one. It's in the box right next to me, thanks to Douglas for lending it to me. Let's take a look. Most people know that Fujitsu make air conditioners. However, laptops are also something they made. The Lifebook, a name most likely chosen to sound like Apple's MacBook. While I don't know the price of this specific configuration, the highest spec variant sold at the time for the equivalent of $3,959 US, or about $5,700 in today's money. Oh, and here's something interesting. Touching the cord on this product apparently exposes you to lead. How tasty. Inside are the accessories and the little laptop tucked in between the foam. While this package has been opened recently, the laptop itself is absolutely spotless and practically brand new. Oh, and it's very compact, made a little bit heavier by the larger than normal battery pack. This sticker seems to imply some kind of anti-theft protection as well. Oh yeah, and this device hasn't seen much use. It's perfectly clean. Advertisements at the time emphasized how magnificently compact and that it is a companion for life. Now let's get into what makes this device so unique. The screen can be flipped around to make it kind of like a tablet, which is why it includes a stylus for making touch inputs. A lot of laptops from this time period also had a fingerprint scanner, and when space was at a premium, a pointer nub was used in place of a traditional touchpad. Inside the accessory box, we've got lots of the original wrappings and bubble wrap, as well as the original charging block, which has a near identical plug to the one Sony uses. It's even got the same polarity and voltage, but I'll stick with the Fujitsu one just in case. This may be the cable that'll get your hands covered in lead, and I'll be sure to wash my hands very well after filming. Last of all, we've got some discs, manuals, and what looks to be the original hard disk. It's very small, one of those slow 1.8-inch mechanical drives. A flash memory option was available at the time, but it wasn't cheap, and this gives you a bit of an idea as to the size compared to a PC card and a 4GB CF card respectively. Back in 2008, Windows laptops actually included recovery software. XP Tablet Edition, a shiny Microsoft disk that appears to have OneNote on it, drivers for both XP and Vista, more drivers, and I think Roxio is a disk burning software suite. And if you get stuck, there's even a manual showing you all the basics. You really don't see those with modern laptops, do you now? And since this was a device from a Japanese manufacturer, you can bet there were loads of accessories you could buy, including a tiny USB mouse with retractable cable, probably like this one I have here. With it plugged in, let's see what happens. I've been told an SSD has been installed, making it much faster. Alright, it's running Windows Vista Business Edition, and it is password locked. The hint was 000, so I tried the obvious ones, but had no luck. Thankfully, a quick message to Douglas later, I had the correct password. It's got 1GB of RAM and a 240GB SSD installed. I was wondering why the RAM hadn't been upgraded, so let's take a look, shall we? Both the RAM and storage are easily accessible under these little doors. Wait, that's not normal DDR2 laptop RAM. I asked what this was on Twitter, and I was told by some of my followers that it's Microdimm memory, so a simple upgrade beyond 1GB will be a little bit expensive it seems. And for your money, you got a fairly standard array of ports for a laptop from this time period, including a VGA connector for video output under this little soft rubber cover, as well as a full-size PC card slot. But if there's one design aspect I don't understand, it's the soft felt-like material on the base. It has that Japanese quirk to the design, being feature-packed in a not so conventional form factor. But what exactly is the touchscreen good for? Well, it's drawing time. Come on, paint me like one of your French girls. Well, it's not a very responsive touchscreen to say the least. I did find myself struggling to navigate the operating system effectively, and since this isn't a rugged device, I really can't see why you'd use the touchscreen over the pointer nub, and simply trying to write down notes is a total disaster. Touchscreens have really come a long way in the last 16 years. Webcams have also improved a lot since then. While this is an impressive 1.3 megapixels, all of the images regardless of lighting conditions were soft and hazy. Video wasn't much better either. This is a test of the Fujitsu P1630's inbuilt webcam and microphone recording at I think 1280 by 1024. This really was the best of both worlds when it came to a micro laptop. You had the touchscreen and tablet form factor, but could also use the physical keyboard. And the keys are big enough to use without too much hassle. I mean, it is cramped, but it's way better than typing on one of those tiny Sony Palm Tops released at around the same time. While Fujitsu laptops were common in other parts of the world, I rarely saw them here in Australia. Taking a look back at their website from 2008 reveals an extremely diverse range, covering the low end to the insanely expensive. Now for a real test of its performance, some gaming. A real favourite of mine is old school RuneScape, and that client still runs here on Windows Vista. It's a little bit choppy, but entirely playable. Pushing the integrated graphics is Star Wars Battlefront 2 running at 1024 by 600. I would really recommend using an external mouse, as the little pointer nub does not make for a good gaming experience. Playing YouTube videos is also still a possibility, even with 1GB of RAM. Some of the people that bought these secondhand in 2013 complained that the CPU was pretty slow, even back then. Their experience with the touchscreen was also pretty similar to mine. But can this laptop be improved by downgrading it to Windows XP? I happen to have a brand new 1.8-inch 80GB Intel SSD, so let's find out, shall we? I bought this thing super cheap off of eBay many years ago, but never had a laptop to put it in. There it is, one of the earliest solid-state drives designed for a small laptop just like this. It says, "No, not eat." So they want you to eat this. I've never seen a clay desiccant pack before either. So let's slot it in the little notebook. To remove the drive adapter, you've got to carefully raise the ribbon connector. Then the shock mount for the old mechanical hard disk pops right off. There's the modern M-SATA adapter with SSD compared to the one you may have found in the laptop back in 2008 if you're willing to splurge a little bit of money. There's just enough room, it is a pretty tight fit, and that would have been to keep the original mechanical hard disk from being knocked around. This level of upgradability isn't seen too much in compact laptops these days, is it? And I've never tested this drive, obviously since it was sealed in the packet. It is thankfully recognized in the BIOS. Next step, digging into all of that important recovery media. I made sure to be incredibly gentle with the discs as the paper sleeves appear to have never been opened before. First of all, I set the DVD drive as the first boot option, although I don't know if it's actually being detected at all to begin with. A short time later, it was doing something. Oh, I wasn't expecting a mouse cursor this early in a Windows XP install. The next step appeared to be partitioning that drive. I split it into two partitions because why not? This is actually something that a lot of Japanese laptops did back in the day. Then the recovery could commence, and sometime later I was greeted by a far more familiar Windows XP install screen with an on-screen keyboard that I couldn't seem to disable. Alright, first time boot, and it seems as if the touchscreen is working, but there are many missing drivers, so it's time for that next disk which has all of them apparently. All I had to do was select all of them and let it work its magic. A few restarts, and some time later we had the best part of all. Ah, that really takes me back. Now we are living the dream. That startup triumph is truly ingrained in my childhood. I know it's horribly outdated now, but I feel so happy whenever I use Windows XP. And let's make it look a little bit more wonderful, shall we?
Oh yes, we've got a truly obnoxious colour scheme, and a font so large even the blind can read it. And you can't go wrong with this loud pink background.
I just couldn't help but play a little bit of pinball as well. Back in primary school, a lot of the students, including myself, tried to get the highest score possible. Oh wow, I haven't seen these little search guys in so long. I have a soft spot for Rover, honestly. And I'm sure I'm not the only one that made these kind of masterpieces in Paint either. The laptop landscape has matured since 2008. Most people don't want or need a touchscreen, and while portability is important, a device this small has too many downsides in terms of screen real estate and ergonomics. This is why most laptops have a 13-inch to 15-inch display. This is simply what the average consumer wants, but you have to appreciate companies trying something new and seeing what sticks. For upwards of $3,000 there were simply better options out there. Thank you very much for watching, and to see one in this condition is pretty incredible. Would I have bought one at the time? No, because I would have had no money as a child back then 16 years ago. Would I buy one today? Also no, because they're quite expensive to buy if you want one on the second-hand market, especially one in the condition that this one's in. Thanks Douglas for lending it to me, and very soon we're going to be in the new house. So I'm looking forward to that, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a good one.